Okay, question 3. A couple wish to go on holiday sometime in July or August. They can't decide whether to visit Perth in Australia or Beijing in China. The weather will be a deciding factor. The box plots show the daily mean temperature and daily rainfall for Perth and Beijing in July and August 2015. Based on the box plots, state 3 observations that may help the couple decide whether to spend their holiday in Perth or Beijing. Okay, so just making some good comparisons between these box plots is what we're looking to do. Let's start with the temperatures. Well, firstly, the daily mean temperature in Beijing is a lot higher than it is in Perth. Okay, so whichever way they decide, if they're looking for a hot location, it looks like Beijing is the place to go. So, daily mean temperature will be my first observation. So, the daily median mean temperature in Beijing is much higher than it is in Perth, and it's nearly 14 degrees higher, substantially hotter in Beijing. What else can we look for? If we look over at the rainfall in Beijing, the median daily mean temperature is so much higher than it is in Perth. It's nearly 14 degrees higher. If we're looking for a hot vacation, a hot holiday, that's the place to go. What else can we look at? Looking over at the rainfall, the daily rainfall, we can see that actually the interquartile range for Beijing is so much smaller than it is for Perth. The interquartile range for Beijing is possibly 2 millimeters, whereas for Perth, the interquartile range is, I would say, 9 millimeters. So Beijing has consistently less rain than Perth. Okay, so the interquartile range for the daily rainfall in Beijing, 2 millimeters, is much lower than that for Perth, which was 11 millimeters. My interpretation of that is that the rainfall in Beijing has a higher consistency and is consistently a low value. Okay, next I'm just looking at outliers, and I see Beijing actually has quite a few outliers. It has 12 outliers, whereas Perth has 4, but 6 of those outliers for Beijing are still within the interquartile values, so they're still within the lower quartile, upper quartile range of Perth. So half of the outliers of Beijing are still just standard amounts of rain in Perth. Okay, so Beijing has 12 outliers, but 6 of them are still lower than the upper quartile of Perth. 6 of them are still less than 25% of the days, than 25% of Perth's outcomes. Okay, so I was asked for 3 observations. I spoke about the median, I spoke about the interquartile range, and I've spoken about outliers just to get a range of observations. I've been specific with talking about particular values, what the actual difference was between those medians, what the values of those quartiles were, and in talking about the outliers, I spoke about how many outliers and compared them once again to an upper quartile. So these specifics and good insights to the box plots should be worth all your marks.